Matt Riddle felt like someone who was just going to be perfect for WWE. He had that real background as a fighter, but he was also incredibly likeable and a pretty damn good wrestler too. And for a while, things did go really well for him on the main roster, but over time, it all started to unravel. Before wrestling, Riddle was a UFC fighter with real potential. He came up through the Ultimate Fighter reality show, and he was a real prospect for Dana White back in 2009. His downfall in the UFC was when he failed 2 drugs tests in the space of 8 months. Both times it was for marijuana, even though he actually had a medical license to use it. The UFC decided not to take that into account, and so they overturned 2 of his wins and eventually released him from his contract. After that, Riddle decided to shift his attention to pro wrestling. He trained at the world-famous Monster Factory in New Jersey, which was the same school that trained legends like Bam Bam Bigelow and Raven. That incredible level of training, along with his natural talent, meant that he soon became a massive hit on the independent circuit. He worked for Evolve, PWG, Progress, GCW. It didn't take long before people were talking about him as the guy to watch on the independent scene. Some even said that he was going to be the future of the wrestling business. He had that rare mix of shoot credibility and this weird stoner charisma that made him stand out. And WWE took notice and signed him to a contract in 2018. He debuted in NXT and was immediately treated like a big deal. He quickly racked up the wins, and he had some killer matches against the likes of Roderick Strong and Finn Balor. Then he got paired up with Pete Dunne as the Broserweights. On paper, it looked like a clash of personalities, but their tag team really worked. They were over with the NXT fans, and they went on to win the Dusty Classic and the tag team titles. In 2020, Riddle was called up to the main roster. He started off strong on SmackDown, and before long he'd picked up the United States Championship. But the real turning point came when he got paired up with Randy Orton. This team wasn't supposed to last, but their partnership just worked. Usually, odd couple tag teams in WWE seem really forced and lame, but Riddle played his role as Randy's weird sidekick to perfection. And Randy looked like he was having more fun than he'd had in years. RKBRO became a genuine highlight on Raw, and they were consistently one of the most over tag teams in the company. WWE clearly saw something in Riddle, and that's no surprise because he was charismatic and different, and he was really good in the ring. But even while he was doing well on screen, not everyone behind the scenes was convinced. He had a habit of burning bridges, especially with veteran talent. In 2019, he trashed Goldberg online while he was live tweeting about his match with The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia. He called him the worst wrestler in the business and made it clear he thought Goldberg had no place in the ring. That reportedly led to a backstage encounter at SummerSlam where Riddle tried to play it cool and kept calling him bro. But apparently Goldberg wasn't having any of it, and he told him in no uncertain terms that he wasn't his bro. Then there was Brock Lesnar. Riddle had been name-dropping him for years, saying that he wanted to retire him at WrestleMania. But when he finally crossed paths with Brock in real life at the 2020 Royal Rumble, it didn't go well. Lesnar allegedly approached him backstage and told him to stop tagging him in posts because they were never going to work together. At the same time, he was calling out other veterans like Chris Jericho, Booker T and Lance Storm, people who had nothing to do with him and in most cases had never met him, but suddenly found themselves on the receiving end of his rants on Twitter. In 2020, independent wrestler Candy Cartwright accused Riddle of sexual assault from an incident in 2018. Riddle denied it completely, but did admit to having a consensual affair with her. WWE were already aware of the situation when they signed him, and the lawsuit was dropped in 2021. Then there was the issue with Seth Rollins. Riddle's now ex-wife posted a body-shaming rant about WWE's female roster, using Becky Lynch as an example. That didn't go over very well with Rollins, who was Becky's boyfriend. He made it clear in an interview that he had no interest in ever working with Riddle thanks to the comments he'd made about his girlfriend. And while Riddle did eventually apologise, the tension lingered on, and WWE later turned it into a part of their on-screen feud. He was supposed to face Rollins at SummerSlam, but the match got pulled and WWE sent him to rehab instead. While the company clearly recognised Riddle's incredible talent, his issues backstage were starting to pile up, and reportedly his substance abuse issues were starting to get out of control. In September 2023, WWE flew him out for a one-day trip to India. It was literally a one-day turnaround, and allegedly, when he arrived back in New York, he got off the plane drunk. Reports from the time say that he was loud and obnoxious, and he kept on drawing attention to himself in the airport. A video later surfaced of him grabbing the airport microphone and ranting down it in front of passengers while holding a drink. He later posted on Instagram accusing a police officer of sexually assaulting him during the incident. The post was quickly deleted, but the damage was already done. WWE was supposed to bring him back to TV the next night, but that plan was scrapped immediately. He was pulled from the road, and within 2 weeks, he was released from his contract. Riddle later claimed that the airport situation wasn't the reason he got fired, but even he admitted that it probably didn't help. It seems that WWE were done babysitting. He was no longer worth the risk. To his credit, Riddle didn't blame anyone else when everything came crashing down. He'd made a lot of bad decisions. In interviews, he admitted that he'd failed drugs tests in the company and they'd sent him to rehab, but he'd ended up relapsing. Riddle said that that was the actual reason for his release. He's been pretty open about all of that since leaving the company. He didn't throw WWE under the bus or try to rewrite the story. If anything, he comes across like someone who knows he blew it, but still thinks he's got more to offer. He's even joked that if someone like CM Punk can come back, maybe he can too. If he never ends up back in WWE, it'll feel like a waste because the talent was always there. For all the chaos, Matt Riddle had something real, and WWE is just a little bit worse off without him.